Well, Robin, I think we're up and running. And I just have Brent Cole is still working to join, but I'm sure we can get started.
Okay, he's not till the end anyways, so if he has anything to report. So we'll get started with the working session. First on the agenda is the citizens forum.
Well, Robin, I think we're up and running. I just have Brent Cole is still working to join. I'm sure we can get started.
Oh, that's weird. Anyways, so if he has anything to report.
Sorry about that.
There's some echo or something.
Yeah. When we do the live YouTube, I have to turn the sound off on it. Otherwise it plays and there's like a.
Oh, that's what I heard then.
delay. Yeah.
Okay, do we have anything for the citizens forum?
I have nothing.
Nothing? Okay, then we'll go to reports and board committees. First up is the policy committee.
I guess we're covering tonight a lot of what we went over at the policy committee meeting. I think for the most part, we reviewed everything. There was the student discipline one. I know that Jeff and Mary did some work too after we reviewed it as far as attaching our procedures. And then Jeff, is it correct that that family and medical leave one is a new one?
Yeah, that's a new one. And I can't remember if it replaced an old one off the top of my head. But it's a new one, so that takes 3 readings. Staff development was, we adjusted it to fit our district setup for how we do our committee work with between staff development and world's best workforce. And the student discipline, there's a few things with a flow chart and kind of the chain of command for some discipline for the high school and elementary that were added, among a couple other things. I think 522 was related to a lot of the changes with the Title IX, if I remember right. So there's quite a bit of change in that one. And I'm drawing a blank on the school district accountability on 616. But all of those are for 3 readings. Tonight will be the first reading. And then policy 415, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. That's 1 reading and adoption. There's very minimal changes to that. And then the last list of policies, 413, harassment and violence, 414, mandated reporting, 514, bullying, 524, internet susceptible use, and 806, crisis management. All of those are required to be reviewed on a yearly basis. I don't think any of them had any changes or updates, but we just wanted to formally document that we did review them this year and make that a practice every year to review those policies. There, I just stole all your thunder, sorry.
Very good. And then there is an effort too to get these all updated on the website as well, so
Yep.
they should be as we go through these now. So current on the website.
Okay. All right, is there anything else for the policy committee? No? How about the school forest committee?
You want me to take that one?
Sure.
For it.
All right. We met on the 11th. Fairly boilerplate stuff for this time of year. We did discuss the potential plantings of trees, but more of our time was spent dealing with the candlelight ski, which we're arranging for February 25th, excuse me, which is a Thursday, trying to coincide with a full moon. So either show up or come on out and help, or a little of both. But hopefully we got snow, we got clear sky and light winds. One once again, that's Thursday, February 25th. I hope got that in my notes properly. And we talked about the timber sale. Most of what the Farrier logging is taking out of the school forest over in Pitt is done. Or I think I would say 3/4 done. I'll take a head nod on that, Jeff. Isn't that what we ended up thinking? And that they were going to go in there and clean some of the loose stuff up. But I know that there was an initial payment, and once again, round numbers of about $4,000, and they'll figure out what the difference is when they finally total it up. She just didn't have all the receipts in. They hadn't submitted all the logging receipts at that point. So that is coming to a conclusion though. So anybody wants to go over and see a changed school forest in Pitt is welcome to do that as well. Otherwise, that's, I think, about the sum total of what we spent about an hour on.
Okay. All right, thanks, Tim. Next is Superintendent and Elementary Principal report on enrollment and safe learning plan update.
Yep. Enrollment, district-wide enrollment is at 461 students. We've lost 3 pupils overall, with the elementary actually going up 1. We're at 257 in the elementary, and we're down 4 in the high school, down to 204. Safe learning plan, we continue to operate in person with the elementary, and high school is still in a hybrid mode. As you probably are aware of, there's a concerted effort from the Department of Ed and the governor to get all elementary students back in person across the state as soon as possible. We've been fortunate to have been in our current learning model since the beginning of the school year, and I think that consistency helps. And it's my hope that at the very least we can continue with our current model throughout the rest of the school year. If not, it would be even better if we could get the high school back in person. But I think we have a long ways to go as far as testing and vaccines and local positivity rates and stuff like that to help steer that in the right direction. Saliva testing, this last Friday was our second round of saliva testing, which is done every other week. I completed my test on Friday and had my results back by Saturday evening, like 11 p.m. or like around 11, I think. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. And I think we had 19 staff that actually submitted saliva test on Friday. I'd like to see that number quadruple would be nice, but
Jeff, is that voluntary or?
it's voluntary. Yep.
There's more available.
Yes, I think we originally started off with about 100 tests that came in. So vaccines. Last week, the governor announced pilot 1, and this morning, announced pilot 2. We were allocated last week 6 vaccines from the Department of Ed. And let me back up. Technically, we have 2 ways that we're getting vaccines for staff. One is through the Department of Ed. And we've been allocated 6. And I believe that's our allocation for the upcoming week, but I'm still waiting to hear on that. The state has 9 sites last week that they're using to distribute it. Our staff go to Thief River Falls. That's our closest site. This coming week, they've added a couple drive-in sites, larger sites, like with 15,000 vaccines down in the cities. Last week, staff would get an email giving them directions and a link to go register, and then they would get information on how to set an appointment up at Thief River Falls. It's going to operate similar to that this week. The only difference is they're not guaranteeing any appointments. It's kind of a first come, first serve. So as soon as I get the information and the link, I will send it off to the next people or staff members that are on the priority list and encourage them to get registered and get scheduled as quickly so spots don't fill up. The other way that we're getting some vaccines for staff is through local public health, and I'm working with K-Shell. So when they have vaccines come in, they have certain priorities that they have to schedule vaccines for. But when they do have some that are available for school staff, she contacts me, and we're kind of working off the same list and trying to get as many people the shot that wants them as quickly as we can. So it's just going to be inconvenient for some staff. Are going to have to drive 4 hours to get it, and some people are going to have to drive 4 blocks to get it. So it's not fair, but that's the process that we have right now. So, and the priority list, a couple weeks ago, we sent out requesting staff to sign up if they wanted to take the vaccine. So I'm using those that have indicated they want the vaccine. And then there's guidance from the state as far as prioritizing, as far as their exposure rate. Special ed, for example, is a good example of where staff are in very close contact with students. So they would be higher on the priority list. If they're 65 years or older, they would be even higher on the priority list. So number of things that we look at and just do our best to try to prioritize and get people vaccinated. Any questions on any of that? I think I counted about 120 potential people that would be considered for the vaccine as a school staff member. And I believe our list, we have 56 people signed up for it, I believe. So we're just about halfway there. Be nice to get over halfway, but again, that's optional for staff. Once we use up all the people that have come forward and requested it, I still have the staff list that I'll be submitting, and they can choose to take advantage of it at that time. They can always decline, but I'm just going to make sure that every person on my list at least has it offered. So
Good.
that's all I have. Oh,
Yeah,
Robin,
right.
you're muted.
Do you have any thoughts on why the vaccination rate the voluntary is about 50%?
I'm just going to guess. I think there's just some uncertainty and unknowns for people. Even in the health field, I can't remember if I read it somewhere or saw it in the news. Kind of a lower rate than expected for health professionals. And I know they did some Zoom meetings with professionals and question and answer type things for some of their staff. I don't know if that's something I can talk to Kay about, as far as if people have questions before they want to sign up for it. There might be some concerns that someone could answer. So that's my best guess on why people would be hesitant.
I think some people feel more confident about it after other people get the vaccine and see that everything is just fine.
I would agree with that, Robin. I think I've heard some stuff about the healthcare here, and they talked about that the first round, some people didn't take it, but then when people did okay, then they signed up, to get the first shot. So
Yeah,
some
I
people
was
are vaccinated and some are not.
I was told kind of the same thing. So, well, Jeff, you've covered everything. Then next up is high school principal Mary.
Good evening, everyone. I need to apologize. I do not have a paper copy of my board report, so I will just start with what I can remember's in it, and then let me know.
Mary, I will put it up on the screen, or were you going to do that, right?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
I'll share it.
Okay, well, Jeff's doing that. I know I started out with semester ended last Friday, so teachers have till Thursday to put grades in. You do get to that point where you do need to say the end is end and get a final grade in. which is the approach we took at the end of the semester. You know, the reality is if we have somebody who's still, that's been their wake up call, teachers have been great about still accepting things. I said, you know, you have a grade in, but if the students are going to do the work, that's really what we want to see is the learning. So if they do that, a grade still can go in and be changed. This week throughout our country is School Choice Week, and there's some posters up and around, and elementary and high school kids on blank ones are going to be writing things like if individual classroom teachers do it, like on the elementary end, I know Jeff put posters for them to pick up. You know, what do you like about your classroom? What do you like our school? So really to do some celebrating of being at Lake of the Woods School. The CNA class, I was unaware that you had to already be 16 to take it, and we had a high interest from kids who weren't quite there. So it is something we are going to keep that relationship open with them to look at next year, because there's 5 kids that would want to come and take it for sure. And I have a feeling that that will just grow. Very excited about the HVAC class that's going to be taught. So it'll be online in the school today. And I apologize, I don't know the instructor's last name. He just introduced himself as Jeff. So Jeff and Sarah Behrens came to the school and brought the toolkits we have 5 students taking it. They brought the toolkits and they showed them how to connect, how to use D2L if they have not used that before. That's the platform that they're using. And big benefit for us, the credit costs $178. But because we're participating in this grant, our school's going to receive $1,000. And Sarah and I have talked about other classes that we would be open to. So looking at really having a good relationship built here for our students for some other opportunities. Curriculum committee for science standards met, and they had really done their homework before we met. They were quite aware of the changes in the standards. And I can say Matt had it laid out how we can make this work for our students with a really smooth transition. The change comes in that physical science is being moved down to 8th grade. And then the life science for our 6th is going to 6th grade for those kids. Right now, different curriculums are being, so recommendation is for that awkward year, which would be next year, because all of this should be implemented in full swing by 22-23. So to make it smooth, 10th grade will stay with biology, and 11th and 12th grade with the chemistry or physics. And then we'll have a year where it'll be like doubled up next year, physical science for our 8th graders and our 9th graders. And that way they aren't missed with it. And then the following year, when those 8th graders having physical science next year would be 9th graders, then they will have the life science, which 9th grade is moving to. And that probably sounded very confusing, but it looks good on paper. And so the next time we meet with the science committee, they're going to be bringing in recommendations to look at for samples. So then at some point we'll be coming to the board with our recommendation of what to use for a curriculum. And then I've met with the elementary teachers looking at our reading curriculum and language arts. And right now there's different grades that are piloting things. Some grades have created their own curriculum, and really looking at that need for cohesiveness. And so the next meeting I have is going to be with the 6th grade teachers and the high school teachers. Right now, the 6th grade teachers and our 7th grade English students are utilizing the same curriculum. So to have a conversation of how that's going and to really look at what we need to do bridging there. And then with the programs, there's like 3 different curriculums being piloted to look and see what the data shows. What is a strong one, what isn't, where have our students been with that? And then to once again, look for hopefully a recommendation. Big question from the teachers was wanting to look and see, is this something that we'd be implementing next year? They were just trained on letters, and Jeff, I might need your help here because I am not well versed in it. And comments at our curriculum committee meeting also were, you know, with the letters training, let's see, because we're all being trained on this and what that brings to the table.
Yep, the ladders training is actually a 2-year training program. But I think after the first year, kind of sets the ground, the baseline for what is best practice, what is research-based reading curriculums look like. So I think as a team, the elementary will be in a position to start looking at and selecting curriculum that best meets the students' needs. So that's kind of the rough timeline. So, but Mary is in charge, so she can adjust it however she wants. But I think most of them have started it. I have a couple that are, we have 2 different cohorts, but the majority of them are in the first cohort that are starting right now this year. So I think it's very good training. It's recommended by MDE. So that I think that'll help drive the discussion on reading curriculum, because reading curriculum, there's tons of different curriculums and everyone's all over the place. It's hard to find one that really sticks out as far as helping kids meet the standards. So, but.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And do I have more under 1.5? That's all I can see on my screen. Oh, and then the weighted grade policy. So I sent information out. I included in my information, because it probably looked pretty brief, of just what the changes would be. The information that was brought to the board in August, that also included what our current grading policy is and the weight and the current scale. The big change from August really is that courses that are offered by Lake of the Woods teachers are the ones that we look at for weighted grading. Because when you look at classes that are taken outside of our building for college credit, they really are receiving a weight, because 3 credit class, which is 1 semester, for a college class, and they could be 1, 2, or 3 credits. When they're transferred to Lake of the Woods School, they get 0.75 for each credit. When you look at a class that we teach at Lake of the Woods for a semester, it's a half a credit. So when you look at that, they really are already getting weighted when they get transferred onto our, on the kids' transcripts. So it'd be, right now there's 3 classes that we have. Next year, we're looking at a 4th because Mrs. Moeller has completed what she needs with the 18 online. So we would next year be able to offer college in the high school English credit also. So right now what we have are 2 math classes and then 1 AP government class that this would affect. Do you have questions for me?
No questions?
Robin, can you hear me?
What was that, Lynn?
Trin has a question.
Oh, sure.
Just regarding when the intent for this.
I need it repeated, please. I can't hear Lynn.
Okay, she's wondering on the timeline when this would go into effect. And it relates to our policy committee process, whether it needs 3 readings.
Is it retroactive?
Are we going to do retroactive?
We would not want to see, I mean, our recommendation would be not retroactive. It would be moving forward. This is what we would look at. I think that's only, quite frankly, fair to everybody, that it really isn't fair to change things midstream. So then the determining factor would be, okay, so when the steps take place, if the board would approve this, determining would it be for the end of second semester, which that would keep the playing field even for everybody, or wait until next year to put it into effect. Diane and I did look at classes kids are taking for this semester and where their ranks are, and if this would take effect from first semester, because grades aren't in, so that could be without, you know, really looking slanted for anybody. She didn't think it would change anything, but we didn't sit down and do the math with the seniors to really make a educated determination there. So knowing if you'd look at approving it either second semester or next year, then it, like I said, then it would be free and clear for everybody to have received the information and not looking back on something.
Is it normal to change grading policy in the middle of the year, or is that something that you wouldn't advise? I guess I don't know, so I'm just asking the question.
Do you want me to repeat that?
I think the cleanest thing is to start a school year with it. I just think that is the cleanest thing to do. But that I'll leave up to you guys, what you think. You know, when you look at class rank, because honestly, that's in some ways more what's looked upon with colleges. Diane didn't think the class rank would change either. So the kids, by not having this yet, I don't think they will be slighted either. I don't think it'll have a negative effect if it doesn't happen. We think their standings will be where they are.
So probably the best thing would be to approve the first reading of the grading policy. Is that what we're thinking, or?
It seems to follow suit of what we normally do, and that would provide time for comment. And then if our intent isn't to start this until next year, and I guess that was kind of my question was, do we need to get this passed so people are aware, or is there time to get it in place for the start of next year's school year?
It certainly isn't anything you need to make a hasty decision on. And I can't remember if I shared with you the discussion I had with the other northern schools. But anyway, I asked at my Northern Division principals meeting, and schools that do have weighted grades, this is what they follow. So we're also following what our neighbors are doing as far as just in-house classes.
How many kids would this apply to? Round number, not quoting you on it, but I mean, is there a total you got in your mind from which classes are AP and college in the classroom, that type of thing?
Well, if I look at the 3 classes we have and look at that number of students off the top of my head, I want to say 15, but yeah, 15. Some of them are probably in 2 college classes like that. Once there's probably some that are in the stats class and the AP government class. So that number really wouldn't double, but off the top of my head, I just say about 15.
So not a huge
So we're
number.
talking, sorry, Tim.
Well, I was going to say, so not a huge number. And I guess what I'm curious on, and I'm not asking anybody to do any extra work, but if I can get a list, probably an anonymous list, I would be curious at the end of this semester how that would have changed something, just so I feel a little better about not pushing it hard for those 3 or 4 kids who may actually have something affected by it.
Sure, I can work with Diane on that tomorrow.
once again, not trying to put a lot of extra work, but if the numbers are fairly small, just be curious about what a weighted grade would do, just for curiosity.
Yep, I can look into that.
Okay.
So can I butt in real quick, Robin?
Yep.
So what do we want to do with it on the agenda? How do we want to treat it?
what I
Is there
was
anyone
gathering-
that,
What I wrote is that, so when we make the motion, it would be the motion to approve the first reading. Is that kind of what I'm hearing? Or am I off base?
Yeah, I'm not looking to slow that process down at all. I
Yep.
just be curious about the numbers.
And then put that in place.
because even with the first reading next month, you could determine that you want to implement it by the end of semester 2. I mean, so that does allow that to be an option. But right now, we're just looking at getting the first reading approved. And then we can look at when we want to formally implement it, and we have a couple months to do that.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else for Mary? I do have one question, Mary. So the HVAC class, is that going to be during the school day, or like the CNA class was going to be after hours? Just
No,
curious.
it's during the school day, and coincidentally enough, it falls in place for it to be that all the boys, it happens to be 5 boys that are taking it 4th hour. And they have Miss Bordelon that period for their study hall. So she was present when the instructor came today so that she could hear what he was also telling the boys about signing in and how to utilize the online. So it's on their schedule as one of their 7 classes.
Okay. All right then. So no other questions for Mary? Okay, next on the agenda is the business office and budget report. The finance committee met. Numbers generally look good for the end of December, but we did have a few questions that we will be waiting for Crystal to get back to us on further clarification, mostly on just certain expenditure items. But other than that, finances look good. So next on the agenda is Activities Director Chad Hazelton.
Hello. So we've got everything is up and running with our winter sports. The varsity hockey team, varsity boys and girls basketball. Our junior high numbers are really low this year. For basketball especially, some of that has to do with the fact that you have to wear masks during practice. So we've had a few families opt out of participating this year because they didn't want to wear a mask during practice. But we're moving forward with it. I have sent a letter to the North Mississippi Conference or Upper Mississippi Conference to try and get our girls softball team admitted to that conference. Our girls softball team does not currently have a conference to participate in. And that's the same conference that our boys baseball team and our girls basketball team participate in. So it's not like we're completely outside of it. We do throw an odd number in there. So that's kind of why they have hesitated just adding us to it. Other than that, workers for games, it's being difficult to find workers for games. So if anybody wants a way to get into a game, we can do, I'm looking for ticket checkers and score clock operators and things like that. So that anybody can contact me with their interest in that. Otherwise, that's about it right now.
Okay. Next is building and grounds. Seth, I see you're on.
Yep, hello. Everything's kind of, just working on making sure everything's safe and staying up to date on new techniques and everything. And then 2 of the projects I've been working on recently is working on updating all the benchmarking for electricity and gas usage. And then just starting to get to work on the budget that we have, the LTFM. Not really a lot.
Okay. All right, has the parking lot by the, for the ski trail been plowed?
Yep, that is
Recently?
wide open.
Okay, good, okay. I pulled in there a couple weeks ago and was a little bit worried that I could have gotten stuck. But it was right after some snow, so,
Yep, no, that's open and clear. Tim was parked out there this afternoon, I believe.
okay. Yeah, I know you had I think that there was some plow truck issues or something that I'd heard about, so. Okay.
Yep, all taken care of and going.
Good. And I see Brent is on. He's up next with Community Ed and Transportation.
Hi, everyone. Transportation wise, not a lot going on. Just kind of dealing with the cold weather and trying to get our buses started in the morning. Community ed wise, we're starting to get opened up there. We have K through 6th grade youth basketball starting. Archery is starting tonight, actually, and the pool and the weight room have opened up. We're looking at a rod building class and Andy Pearson snowshoeing possibly in February. But it's good to see some things starting to loosen up here, and hopefully we can keep it going. But that's about all I have. If there's not any questions.
Hey, Brent, is the walking track open?
Yes, the walking track is open.
Okay, any other, I guess I didn't give it any opportunity for anyone if they had questions for Seth earlier. Does anyone have questions for Seth or Brent?
I have a comment or a question for Seth, which is, did you get a chance to go in that storeroom and see about candles? I forgot to ask you about that.
No, I have not, but I'll do that right away tomorrow morning. Glad you mentioned it, so I could put it on my list.
All
I
right,
think
I'll
you're in
I'll
the
be in there
community ed
too, so we
closet.
can kind of get together on that.
Okay,
Seth,
Yeah.
I think you're in the community ed closet.
yep, we just need to go in and see how many are there, or if we need to get more, or what shape that they're in.
And Jeff Nelson, I did groom that today, the school, so you don't have to, you've been pretty good about it, so I'll try to get my oar in there when I can.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you doing it before. And then finally, and this is off, but before this meeting's done, or at least sometime, you and Chad, I would like you to get a athletic committee meeting established for the 3 members of the board that are on that, where the 5 of us can sit down and have a discussion.
Okay.
I had a question for Chad. Just, you mentioned that you need help for games. Are those like basketball games, or all of the above?
Most of them are hockey right now. I think most of the basketball games are covered. I have a spreadsheet that if you're interested, I can share it with anybody and pick up the dates that are open.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. The candles, I'm assuming the question on the candles, is that for the candlelight ski?
Yes,
Okay, what time? I know you said February to the 25th, which is a Thursday. What time is it at?
5 to 7, but the glory comes later. I mean, the 7 o'clock is the better because it's actually dark.
Yeah.
And you need the candles, but we'll be there by 5 o'clock with some hot chocolate and maybe marshmallows and maybe Jeff Birch and get him out of retirement.
Okay. Okay, then the last on the agenda is food service with Cece, but I don't see her on. So I don't know, Jeff, do you have anything? There must not be much.
I'm not aware of any reports on food service for this month.
Okay, well, I suppose we could adjourn then, and then, I forget, do we just stay on this meeting until 7? Or
We
start
do,
it-
but we can take a break and I can just fire it up again in 20 minutes.
Using the same link?
It'll be the same link. I think I can do that without causing problems.
Yeah, either that or I can just shut my video and my
Okay.
mute.
Or we can just have 20 minutes of awkward silence and staring at each other.
Well, unless there's something else that's wasn't covered here that anyone else wants to talk about, I guess.
let's just shut it down and go back to the same link. And I think it'll work. And if it doesn't, I'll panic and figure something
Well,
else out.
we could all try to come on a little bit earlier, like 5 minutes, and then maybe you could resend a new one if it doesn't work or something.
I will do that.
Okay.
Brent, are you still there? Is Brent still around?
Yep.
Yep, I'm on here.
You say the buses are starting hard. I'm assuming those are the ones that are left outside at night right now? I mean, the stuff in the, okay.
Yeah, we got one in, it sits in Williams overnight, and then one out east past Clemenson there. So.
Okay.
Is that just a question of having a plug-in on them, or is there something more elaborate that has to occur?
Well, we have maintainers, oil pan heaters and block heaters in them. One of the Williams bus, the block heater went out in it, so we had to order a new one. And then the other one, I'm not too sure. We got it going this afternoon after it warmed up a bit, but we'll have to bring it inside and see what's going on.
Okay.
But they were plugged in?
Yep, they were both plugged in.
I know at the flying service back in the good old days, and they would plug those airplanes in, but, you know, a slow turning engine and, you know, insulating them, wrapping them with blankets, things like that before they put them away at night. Actually made quite a difference on some of the cold nights like this.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, we'll adjourn for a few minutes and reconvene. Not reconvene. I guess we'll start the regular session at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.